My name is Kryn, and I'm sitting at my kitchen table, the silence in the room only broken by the ticking of the clock on the wall. It's been a few months since I cut ties with my family, and yet, the memories still sting. I'm reminded of that fateful day when I finally stood up for myself, a day that changed everything. I remember the day I received that text from my father like it was yesterday. I was out running errands, and my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out and saw the message, "Can you pay for your sister next semester?" I stopped in my tracks, the words hitting me like a punch to the gut. For a moment, I just stared at the screen, my mind racing. It was the same old story. My younger sister, Lily, had always been the center of attention in our family. She was the delicate one, the one who needed constant support and care. And I was the reliable one, the one who always stepped up to the plate. I had been paying for Lily's expenses for years, from tuition to rent to groceries. It had become a routine, a burden that I carried without complaint. But that day, something inside me snapped. I was tired of being taken for granted, tired of being the one who always had to sacrifice. I typed back a message, my hands shaking with anger and determination. This loser will not send a single dollar anymore. And with that, I hit send. The response was immediate. Within hours, my phone was blowing up with missed calls and messages. My mother, Lily, my father, and even some of my aunts and uncles were all trying to reach me. They were panicked, desperate to get me to change my mind. But I didn't answer. I couldn't. I needed to stand my ground. As I sat there, surrounded by the chaos of my family's panic, I couldn't help but think about how we had gotten to this point. It all started when I was a kid. I was the oldest, the responsible one, the one who was expected to take care of my younger siblings. And Lily, she was the baby, the one who could do no wrong. Whenever something went wrong, I was always the one who got blamed. If Lily broke something, I was supposed to have been watching her. If she forgot her homework, I was the one who had to help her finish it. And if she was feeling down, I was the one who had to comfort her. It was never ending, and I was always the one who had to pick up the pieces. As I got older, things didn't get any better. Lily got into college, and my parents started putting more and more pressure on me to help her out. They said it was just temporary, that once she got on her feet, she would be able to take care of herself. But it never happened. Instead, the requests got more and more frequent, and the amounts got bigger and bigger. I tried to say no, but it was always so hard. I loved my family, and I didn't want to let them down. So, I kept saying yes, even when it meant sacrificing my own happiness and well-being. I worked long hours, took on extra jobs, and cut back on my own expenses just to make ends meet. And all the while, my family took my help for granted, never once showing me any appreciation or gratitude. But then, that one phone call changed everything. It was a Thursday afternoon, and I was in the middle of working on a project for a client. My phone rang, and I saw that it was my father. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something inside me made me answer. "Kryn," he said, his voice cold and angry. "We need to talk." I braced myself for what was coming. I knew it wasn't going to be good. "You've been distant lately," he said. "You don't seem to care about your family anymore." I was stunned. I had been working my butt off to help them, and this was how he thanked me? "I've been trying to do my best," I said, my voice shaking. "But I can't keep doing this forever." My father scoffed. "You're being selfish," he said. "You think you're too good for us now." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I had given so much to my family, and this was how they saw me? "I'm not being selfish," I said. "I just need some time for myself." My father wasn't having it. "You're not coming on the family vacation this year," he said. "You've made your choice." I felt like someone had punched me in the gut. I had been looking forward to that vacation for months, and now he was taking it away from me? "Fine," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I don't need you or your vacation." And with that, I hung up the phone. I sat there for a few minutes, trying to process what had just happened. I felt angry, hurt, and betrayed. But most of all, I felt a sense of relief. I had finally stood up for myself, and it felt good. For the next 3 weeks, I didn't hear from my family. It was a strange feeling, not having them constantly in my ear, asking for help. I focused on my work, took care of myself, and started to heal. But then, that text from my father came, and everything changed. It was like a wake-up call, a reminder of how much I had been taken for granted. And I knew that I couldn't let it happen again. So, I made a decision. I was going to cut ties with my family. I was going to focus on my own life, my own happiness, and my own well-being. It wasn't going to be easy, but I knew it was the right thing to do. I started by closing all of my shared financial accounts with my family. I changed my passwords, removed their access to my bank accounts, and stopped answering their calls and messages. It was a painful process, but I knew it was necessary. At first, it was hard. I missed my family, and I felt guilty for cutting them off. But as time went on, I started to feel better. I was sleeping better, eating better, and feeling happier. I was finally free from the burden of their expectations and demands. And then, something amazing happened. I landed a long-term contract with a major client, and my income started to stabilize. I was able to save money, take vacations, and do the things that I had always wanted to do. I was finally living the life that I had always dreamed of. Meanwhile, I started to hear from my family through other people. I heard that Lily was struggling in school, that my parents were having financial problems, and that they were all blaming me for their problems. But I didn't let it bother me. I knew that it wasn't my responsibility to take care of them anymore. A few months later, my father reached out to me and asked to meet. I was hesitant at first, but I decided to go. I wanted to see what he had to say. We met at a diner, and my mother and Lily were there, too. They all looked miserable, and I could tell that they had been through a lot. My father started by apologizing for the way he had treated me. He said that he had been wrong, that he had taken me for granted, and that he was sorry. I listened to him, but I didn't say anything. I was still angry, and I wasn't sure if I could forgive him. Then, my father slid a piece of paper across the table. It was a list of Lily's expenses, and there was a number circled at the bottom. "Kryn," he said. "We need your help. Lily is in a lot of trouble, and we don't know what to do." I looked at the paper, and I felt a pang of sadness. I loved Lily, and I didn't want to see her suffer. But I also knew that I couldn't keep bailing her out. "No," I said, my voice firm. "I'm not doing this anymore. I've done enough for you and your family." My father looked at me, his eyes filled with anger and disappointment. "You're being selfish," he said. "You're destroying this family." I shook my head. "No," I said. "You're the one who's destroying this family. You've been taking advantage of me for years, and I'm not going to let it happen anymore." And with that, I stood up and walked out of the diner. I didn't look back. I knew that it was the end of our relationship, but I also knew that it was the beginning of a new chapter in my life. Since then, I've been focusing on myself and my own happiness. I've been traveling, meeting new people, and pursuing my dreams. And I've realized that sometimes, walking away is the bravest thing you can do. Love without respect turns into entitlement, and I was done being taken for granted. I was finally free, and I was going to make the most of it.